Some people have asked me to do a quick video explaining why I'm suing Christopher Bouzy. So here it is. So why am I suing Christopher Bouzy of Bot Sentinel for defamation? Let me take you back to the beginning. Christopher Bouzy is a serial failed entrepreneur. He used to run an escort service called If Solo. Now, I'm not describing it as an escort service. Christopher Bouzy does. Here, we also have a few great tools that other websites do not have, Christopher Bouzy explains. One that everyone loves, for example, is our innovative Solo Classifieds feature. This is essentially the escort feature. Quote, let's say a member has tickets to an event, but doesn't have a companion, or they need an escort. He or she can post details, and then potential companions, escorts, can offer reasons why they believe they should be invited to come along. As they make their case, both of them also make a cool connection. So what started out as a solo evening has the potential to turn into a dynamic date. Now, this online escort service was thought to be a scam. Here it is on scaminfo.com, telling people to be careful because people who you meet in this site may be trying to scam you. And this is not the only company Christopher Bouzy had that failed. Matter of fact, every company for the past, 20 years has failed dramatically. Now, over that time frame, to promote these various products and scams, Christopher Bouzy essentially used platform manipulation tactics on Twitter. This is what we found. We found the escort service, If Solo, that you saw before, was promoted by using bots. And how do we know they're bots? Because all of these tweets are about If Solo promoting their products, but it's also tweeted at the same exact time. All these various accounts tweeting the exact same thing at the exact same time. Now, if this was just a one-off event, then you can say, okay, there's no platform manipulation here. But we found for each and every one of these companies, it seems like they kept using bots to promote the products. For instance, here are hundreds of accounts that were promoting other products from Christopher Bouzy. Here's an example. There was a company called Comcore Corporation, and the product was ByteSend. Again, this was Christopher Bouzy's company and his product. We found all of these accounts tweeting at the exact same time, the exact same thing, and the exact same day, promoting Christopher Bouzy's products. Hundreds of accounts. And then we found a lot of these accounts were also following Christopher Bouzy. Coincidence. And this link is going to be in the description so you can go to it and see the bots yourself. The hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bots. Don't trust what I'm saying. Go look at it for yourself. So this takes us to Bouzy's latest scam, Bot Sentinel. Now, Bot Sentinel is a paid for, essentially, hit job. What they're supposed to do is that when one of Bouzy's clients is having problems with public relations, Bouzy comes in, and his job seems to be is to attack any critics and then create false reports, making it seem like there's a coordinated hate campaign against his paying clients. And two of his paying clients, according to Bouzy, are Amber Heard and Harry and Meghan. Here, Bouzy tweeted this out a couple of months ago, that Bouzy has conducted paid for private research for former presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg, former FBI lawyer Lisa Page, former actress Markle, and the legal team of Heard. After the revelation that Bouzy was getting paid by Meghan Markle and Amber Heard, Bouzy then comes out and denies that he's actually being paid by Meghan Markle, and it was a whole big thing, right? So at first he said he was being paid by Meghan Markle, then he says he's not being paid by Meghan Markle, then he says he is, then he says he's not, so who really knows, right? So at this point in time, he claims he's not being paid by Meghan Markle, but he is being paid by Amber Heard. So now another part of this puzzle is that Christopher Bouzy, whose company is supposed to be against online trolling and online hate campaigns, he initiated an online trolling and hate campaign seemingly on behalf of his clients. But again, we're just not sure. An article was written up about Christopher Bouzy's hate campaign against William and Kate. Now, get the irony of this. Christopher Bouzy is the expert on stopping trolling and hate campaigns, but now we found he initiates these same trolling and hate campaigns. Here's what it says in the article. Christopher Bouzy, founder of Bot Sentinel, appears to be behind the igniting of this discourse, the hate campaign. He tweeted yesterday, "Forgive me in advance for being petty. I just saw a recent photo of William and Kate, and those two are aging in banana years." Again, he's complaining about the way they look. Now, this is fantastic for Christopher Bouzy because on one end, he can complain that Harry and Meghan are being treated unfairly and people are judging them on the way they look, and that's bad, and that needs to be stopped. But then on the other side, to protect Harry and Meghan, he then initiates this same trolling and hate campaign because, again, it all depends on who's paying him, right? And again, it wasn't one tweet. This was a coordinated hate campaign initiated by Christopher Bouzy against William and Kate. Then we also found that Christopher Bouzy's reports were fake. Here is the evidence that he put forward that there was a coordinated hate campaign against Meghan Markle. This is it. This is the proof. Matter of fact, the report was so bad that Twitter itself came out and refuted it and said the report is nonsense, that there's no evidence of what Christopher Bouzy was claiming. So you would think that would be enough to expose Christopher Bouzy, but it wasn't. He was still going around doing press, pretending to be an expert in this field that he had absolutely no training or no experience in. But then Christopher Bouzy started getting paid by Amber Heard's legal team, and he wanted to start attacking some of us law tubers who have been critical of Amber Heard, like me. So for instance, Christopher Bouzy started attacking me about my disability. All these tweets targeting me because I'm disabled. He also started telling people that Nate the lawyer is not a lawyer. Now, this is where we come to the defamation lawsuit. See, Bouzy lives in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, defamation per se is when you do one of these things. Quote, New Jersey classifies statements as defamatory per se if it falls into one of these 4 categories. Note that these 4 categories are interpreted broadly and are not all-inclusive. And the one that we really want to focus in on is statements which affect a person in his business, trade, profession, or office. So him saying that I'm not a lawyer and that I've committed some type of crimes, that would fall into that category. And here's what he said. Quote, I'm not sure if there's a reasonable explanation why we can't find him in the database, talking about me, Nate the lawyer, where he claims to practice law. He may want to retain a, quote, real lawyer. While Nate the lawyer attempts to impress his gullible followers with a non-issue, I still can't find his bar association number or the New York Times, Forbes, NBC articles he claims to have been featured on. Just social media profile. Then he also sends this tweet out, which is very, very important. And remember this tweet because we're going to come back to it at the end. But this tweet says also, Americans don't spell practicing with an S. It's really interesting that there's no history of him practicing law anywhere. Maybe the name he's using isn't his real name. Interesting. And then he also said this. While we wait for Nate the lawyer to locate his law license and the links for his New York Times, Forbes, NBC articles, I will share my New York Times, Forbes, and NBC articles. Then he says YouTube should really verify certain professionals' licenses before allowing them to claim that they are real doctors or lawyers. I can't tell if this guy is a legit lawyer or just a social media lawyer. Where does he advertise his services? So Bouzy is clearly trying to tell people that Nate the lawyer is not a lawyer, not a real lawyer. Now, most of the people who watch my channel will know that I have been featured in the front page of the New York Times a couple of times. But here is the latest one, which I put out on my Twitter account. And this is a front page article in the New York Times. And in here, it does quote Nathaniel Brody filed a motion in court because I was representing the defendant in this article. So it's obvious I am clearly an attorney who's practiced law in the state of New York. So now, since Bouzy lives in New Jersey, we thought that we may have a good case for defamation per se. Here are the elements. For defamation per se, you need a false statement about the plaintiff published to a third party, and you need malice or actual malice. And we think we have the first 3. His statement that I wasn't a lawyer is false. It was about me, Nate the lawyer, and he published it to third parties on Twitter. But what about the actual malice? Now, for actual malice, we need to prove that Bouzy not only said the statements, but he knew they were false or he recklessly disregarded the truth that they were false. Well, at first, we didn't believe that Bouzy knew the information. We just thought that he was a clown that couldn't really do research because of obviously all of his fake stuff that he's been putting out. But on September 18th, 2022, Bouzy responded to this Twitter user's post about Bouzy being a bad researcher and not finding my name because it was publicly everywhere. This is what she put. You do realize that the lawyer's information is public knowledge, so nobody doxed anything. Bouzy just sucks at research, which is obvious. Given his articles, high schoolers doing research papers do better research than Bouzy, a grown blank man. So Bouzy responded to this. Bouzy didn't want people to think that he didn't know what my real name was. So this is what he said. Or you are just unable to read between the lines. I already had the information and was waiting for someone else to tweet it so I wouldn't be accused of doxing. Read the thread slowly. And then he points back to this thread, this tweet that he put out earlier. Remember? the one that says also Americans don't spell practicing with an S, it's really interesting because there's no history of him practicing, and he highlights the part, maybe the name he's using isn't real. Now, this was obviously to show this Twitter user that he already knew my real name when he tweeted this out, and he was trying to give hints to people about what my real name was so they can put my information out and he wouldn't be accused of doxing. So with that information that he actually knew that I was already an attorney, he knew my real name and he said it anyway, disregarding the truth, we had actual malice. So we filed lawsuit for defamation per se because Bouzy, as he wrote, knew the information was false and said it anyway because he didn't want to be accused of doxing. So we filed our lawsuit claiming defamation per se, false light, and a couple of other claims. Bouzy responded claiming that his tweets were only opinion. Now a judge is going to determine if we move to discovery or if the case is going to be dismissed. Now, if we lose this motion to dismiss, we are going to amend the complaint or appeal, whichever one is appropriate at that particular time, and see what happens after that. And if we win the motion to dismiss, we will go to discovery. So as of right now, we believe we have a false statement about the plaintiff, published to third parties, and said with actual malice. We believe that's enough to get us past the motion to dismiss and get us to discovery. And hopefully that is what happens. The judge should be making a ruling in the next couple of months, and we'll all know together. But at the end of the day, either we're going to be amending our complaint and filing again to try to see if we can overcome the motion to dismiss, or if we win the motion to dismiss, we're going to go to discovery and find out those questions. Is this all a big scam? And we get to ask Christopher Bouzy these questions under oath. So that is my lawsuit in a nutshell. Hopefully everyone understands why we're suing, where we're suing, what we're suing for, and what the process is going forward. With that said, my name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you next time. Peace.